This is the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla.
It is the federal government's right and responsibility to secure our borders. This is a national security issue.
Legal immigration, a huge issue in our country. Sarah Palin has tackled it from many angles, including the humanitarian side. Today, we're joined by Michelle Moons of Breitbart News to talk about the impact of illegals continuing to cross our border in droves. Governor Palin congratulates primary winners and calls out the cheating in Mississippi. We strap in with the Colonel once again. Rob Maness joins us from Louisiana. A brand new Commonwealth Common Sense with Susan Stimson is coming up. And just ahead, our latest edition of Steel Resolve with Sarah Steelman. First, we welcome in Michelle Moons. We head to the Golden State and say hello to my friend, a great contributor with Breitbart News, and a wonderful person all around. Michelle Moons, how are you?
Doing great, Kevin.
Thanks so much for being here on the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Great to have you as a guest. You've been doing some tremendous writing for Breitbart, and more specifically Breitbart California. California, very conservative, right-wing state, as we all know. And so really not much for you to pick apart there, but you've somehow have been able to find some things. And lately you've been tackling this issue of immigration, and I think it's really been, on everybody's minds, certainly on those on the common sense conservative side, certainly on those who voted Eric Cantor out in Virginia a couple of weeks ago. So what have you found? I mean, California is certainly a hotbed, the whole country it affects, of course, but that's one of the states bordering Mexico, and you have so many troubles there. Your last one about illegal alien transfers. Tell us a little bit about what you found through your writing and through your research.
One thing is, I had done an article about a week ago about some of these children and families that are being transferred from the overcrowded detention facilities in the Rio Grande Valley, where they're seeing just an influx of illegal aliens coming through that border crossing. But now they seem to be moving them around. Some of you suggested that it's in order to keep agencies like Child Protective Services from doing any investigating. But they had plans about a week ago to move about 300 to two different cities in Southern California, San Diego and El Centro. And when they announced it, public kind of found out, and it was reported, and there was backlash from Southern California residents, and so they decided to cancel them last minute this Sunday before they were going to send them. They were going to send them Monday, and they canceled that. Well, a lot of people were saying they were just going to wait until things got quiet, and they would then quietly reinstate these flights. And now we're seeing that they've done that now plans have resumed to send some of these detainees, the illegal aliens being detained in the Rio Grande Valley area, to El Centro, to San Diego, and actually a couple other places now too. So, and we're also hearing about possibly buses coming over. And in addition, there have been detention facilities being proposed in areas like Escondido, which is here in northeast kind of San Diego County, and this is another situation where there's an organization called Southwest Key that is looking to. They've already set up detention facilities in at least 6 states. Well, they're not so much detention facilities, but they're just these housing areas for illegal alien youth. And they have programs for that. And it's one of the places that what's being talked about in Central America, what people are being told is that if these kids can get up here, that there will be places for them to go. Some reports say that they're being told it's like hotels for them to come to, and that they'll be taken care of and later reunited with family. So And the one in Escondido here just got rejected. The Southwest Key that was part of proposing to set this up, it was a 5-year lease for one, so definitely not a temporary program.
Isn't it interesting you talk about citizens of California rising up and saying, hey, we don't want this, yet a lot of these same people vote for politicians again and again who allow these types of things to happen?
Absolutely. And we even saw Nancy Pelosi earlier today was down in Texas talking about taking this quote-unquote crisis and saying this crisis we have to view as an opportunity, and talking about moving these children and families as quickly as possible. And definitely California is a little bit of a crazy place over here. So definitely we've got a lot of more liberal politicians, and you do see people electing this leadership, and then they wonder when things like this happen, how that happens.
Yeah. I mean, it's great that people like yourself are bringing this to light as far as the illegals and certainly the children that are involved in this. I know Governor Palin also posted some pictures recently and some articles recently to really let people know what's going on here under this administration. We're talking about some really young kids in some of these spots, right? I mean, I've heard some are just dropped off with no adult, and you're talking about infants in some instances.
There have been reports of very young children, and some groupings where there's kids with one adult, and maybe that's not the legal guardian. But we're also seeing in, for example, these places like with the organization Southwest Key, where it says that it could range anywhere from 6 to 17, but a lot of them are young, early teens. And there are concerns about communities where these places are being set up, as far as people that have had issues with illegal aliens that have come through. And there was one lady at that meeting in Escondido the other day when that one detention facility got denied, that was talking about her child being killed by an illegal alien that was here. And we're also hearing issues with young gang members coming across the border. And not only that, but a lot of the young kids too, we're seeing part of the problem is not just that they're coming here for our sake of them being illegal aliens, but also that these cartels and human smugglers that are running these people across oftentimes are murdering the people coming across, and even selling some of the kids into things like sex trafficking. And that's really another big problem, that even the people trying to come across are at risk by not securing the border.
Yet Obama and Pelosi and friends, they're ready to extend Social Security numbers and cards and driver's licenses and better cable packages than you and I have. I mean, where does it stop? How more graphic, or how much more do you have to see or get before either it's too late or before people finally wake up and say, hey, something has to be done here? Those in Arizona and California and Texas and across the country who have been speaking common sense for some time, I think it's well past due to start listening if you're on the left or, in that squishy middle there going playing to get along.
Sure, yeah. You do wonder what it's going to take to get some movement on this and actually start sending people back to where they came from, and not just holding them here in these facilities where they're people on top of people. And seeing, like you talked about, the driver's license for illegal aliens, that there was a bill signed by Jerry Brown last October going to be implemented in January 2015, and that will give illegal immigrants in California, give them the opportunity to get driver's licenses. And you can see where does this stop? Where do we draw the line? And I think that this coming to light, what's being reported now about these detention facilities, for one, people being able to see pictures of what's going on, is making an impact. And it is going to take citizens asking their elected officials to really push to enforce the laws that we already have, and to protect the kids and people here and the kids that are coming across, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's another name you mentioned. There's Jerry Brown, Governor Moonbeam. I mean, you're looking at a guy here we thought we got rid of in 1992 in his failed presidential bid. And, I mean, this is like Rasputin, where he keeps coming back with more and more nonsense and, you know, much to the chagrin of California and everywhere else. Well, listen, Michelle, we appreciate what you're doing. Your articles have been tremendous, and you're shedding a light on something that, you know, maybe some don't want to talk about or don't want people to know the realities about. I know Governor Palin's been doing the same thing, as we mentioned earlier, with some of the pictures and columns that she has put out there on social media recently. So we do appreciate that. If you haven't caught Michelle's column in Breitbart, you got to go to Breitbart.com and then just search Michelle Moons, also Breitbart California, and check it out. Now, you know, when you're not tackling hard-hitting political issues, you kind of went out of your comfort zone the other day, talked a little bit about the great Tony Gwynn, who certainly made an impact in California, the Hall of Fame slugger who passed away much too young, suffering from cancer, and Gwynn leaving us early, but just a great hitter. And I know you're not a huge baseball person, but you thought you had to write an article on that. What about Tony Gwynn caught your eye and you know, made you sit down, take a break from the hard politics, and talk baseball?
Yeah, well, it's a big deal in San Diego. I mean, he is Mr. Padre, so I think, in not being any sports expert myself, but it's made a huge impact here in San Diego. People knew him, whether they were diehard sports or baseball fans or not. He made a difference in the community and really loved the people here. And he was outspoken about the fact that he had cancer, had to do with chewing tobacco, and so he really didn't want other people to have to face that. So I know he was an advocate also for telling the younger generation not to do that sort of thing. But just a great hitter. I've learned so much about him, and just a great human being, for lack of a better term. But yeah, you've really seen an outpouring of love in the area for this man, and really what he meant to the community.